This episode of Greenhouse Grower to Grower is brought to you by Westbrook Greenhouse Systems, a trusted North American leader in complete greenhouse solutions. From structures and heating to curtains, benches, and full installation, Westbrook delivers systems built to perform and built to last. With a team known for long-term expertise and reliability, you can trust Westbrook with your next greenhouse project, whether it's glass or poly, open roof or freestanding. Learn more at westbrooksystems.com. Connect with them on LinkedIn or visit them at major industry shows across North America.
Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we're shaping the future of floriculture one conversation at a time. We talk with the growers, leaders, and innovators shaping tomorrow's greenhouse industry today. From market trends, next generation plants, and innovative production, to the challenges and breakthroughs redefining what it means to grow. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. Let's dig into what's next together. This week, I'm turning over the podcast hosting duties to my colleague, Marisa Reyes. Marisa made her first ever trip to California Spring Trials last month, and in this episode, she sits down with Dr. Allan Armitage, who is with her at every stop, to talk about their favorite plants, trends, and overall takeaways. You can find more highlights from the trip on greenhousegrower.com, but for now, I hope you enjoy this fun conversation.
Hi, Ellen. Thanks for being here with me. I'm excited to dig into the California Spring Trials with you today, and it was such a fun event, but I think there were some really interesting themes and introductions this year. So, to start us off, what was your biggest takeaway from CAST?
Well, good afternoon, Marissa. Yes, for those of you who didn't know, I've been doing this California Spring Trials for quite some time. I'm an old grizzled veteran. Marissa, on the other hand, her eyes are the size of saucers every time we walked into a new greenhouse. So it's really that interesting. And those of you who haven't been to the California Spring Trials, I know the timing is terrible and all that, but if you have a chance, it really is something to see. And of course, we go in working with Meister and trying to sort of share things with you. And I look at things, and Marissa looks at things, and maybe we look at them a little bit differently. But what plants can a grower be successful with? Can the greenhouse or can the perhaps garden center or installer be successful with? And of course, then what plants are we going to see so that the gardener can also have that same experience? So the takeaway for cast, Marissa, for me is hasn't changed that much. It's always exciting. I think the breeders put their best foot forward. It's gotten smaller. There's no doubt about it, and small isn't necessarily bad.
Right.
It used to be way too. Well, I say we. Everybody was exhausted. I mean, true, but it used to be a lot bigger. There are a few companies that used to demonstrate that aren't there this year, but then there were some new ones as well. So I think it was great. You're not going to see, it's hard for people who aren't there to say, "Hey, how come there's no great big fabulous plant that everybody's talking about this year?" It's hard.
Yeah.
If you look at what a petunia used to look like 20 years ago and what it looks like today, it's like day and night.
Yeah.
But over each year, it's just small incremental changes, or a begonia, or a pentas, or we saw some fabulous cut flowers. We saw some spectacular just little things like hens and chicks, just stuff like that. That
Mm-hmm.
was potato. We even saw, a pink agapanthus. So we see these kind of things when we're doing this. How successful they're going to be, time shall tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to your point, this was my first year at CAS, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But I'd say for me, my biggest takeaway this year was the intersection of retail trends and grower practicality that breeders were focusing on. What stood out to me was the most interesting introductions weren't just beautiful, but they were compact, retail ready, often solving some sort of production or performance issue at the same time. So it felt really strategic. But yes, of course, it was so much fun. I mean, we had so many moments that were just hilarious. I keep thinking back to when we were at Doom and Orange and you just come right out of the trailing begonia, and
Don't show that one.
That's my favorite, and I hope it surfaces around somewhere sometime soon. But I mean, I had a really great time, and there were a couple trends that stood out to me, looking back, and now that we've had time to process since the event. And of course, one of the first ones I noticed was growing for small spaces, and that is clearly a trend, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. There were tons of different compact plants on display, so there was just strong emphasis for patios, balconies, containers, and small backyard spaces. And I think that's prioritizing how we are actually growing. Gardeners are living in smaller spaces. People don't own homes like they used to, so if you want to do something, you want a garden, there has to be a solution. And, we saw that everywhere. There was one stop we were at where there was a red bud that could grow in containers. And I thought that was so neat because I can't grow a tree in my backyard, but I could grow that. So I just thought that was really cool to see.
I think you're right on when we see trends, and sometimes it takes us a while to notice them, or we don't call them trends until they've been around for a while, but we can't help but say, "Gee, this is something happening." And I think the compact thing has been going on for some time. The compact thing actually started out, and you're right, it's small spaces. I think that's really we noticed a trend with patio vegetables, where we can put a tomato that isn't going to be 5 feet tall. It's actually only bred to be 2.5 feet tall, but with big fruit, that kind of thing. And I think the whole, and I've been talking about this forever, the porch, the patio, the balcony, and all those places that people live, they need plants and they want
Hmm.
plants. And so you're to your point, short and compact makes great sense there. And of course, short and compact makes even as much sense, if not more sense, for the ability for a garden center to show off the plants because they're not falling over. Put more, you can certainly, of course, put more plants in a truck when you're hauling plants around from place to place. So short and compact has definitely been a trend for quite some time. But the idea that that short and compact has uses far more numerous than just how many can I stick on a rack. It's all about, as you were just saying, compact places to live. I agree.
Exactly. And also too, it'll save space. Can't talk today. Bench space for a grower, and it looks good at retail, as you were saying. So I have that same takeaway. I also noticed, and I said this a lot as we were going through the softer color trends that were showing up. And I love the pastels. I really gravitated towards them, but it's been fun to see that in a real life situation because I recently had written an article about cut flowers and the trend of, the pastels, vintage, looking colors, rustic, and we saw a lot of that around at Cast, and so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint anything about color. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, no, truly, I think your point's taken. There were a lot of pastels, and maybe, and I see this stuff, and I gravitate to some brilliant orange thing because it catches my eye. But you're
Right.
absolutely correct. Certainly, I think that people, well, the breeders do pay attention to I'll say the Vogue magazines and the magazines that talk about what trends in color, what's the Pantene color of the year. People pay attention. Well, I don't, but people pay attention to that stuff. And so that we might see that as well. But I think people still I think when you look at some of those Calvacolas or some of those extraordinary, Rudbeckias and things we saw, they were bright. They people want to see something. Well, I shouldn't say people. The people who are selling plants want people to notice them. And I think
Hmm.
pastels, certainly in something like a cut flowers, and we saw some spectacular cut flowers. Yeah, that makes a huge difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a lot of really great standout varieties, especially too. Cicada and Syngenta had awesome cut flower displays, and I was just drooling over the Lysianthus series from Cicada. I just so beautiful.
You like that
I
one, huh? Yeah. I think we did. I think we ended up doing at least one, if not more, videos on that because
Oh,
those
I know.
dances, they were really quite spectacular.
It
Uh,
would
it,
be great because we did take so many videos, and they're starting to be posted, on social media, and I would love to get some sort of blooper video up there. I just think that would be
Well,
so
or a bunch
fun.
of those. But it's interesting. Elysianthus, or I used to know what it used to be called. And we saw them not only as cut flowers, but also as potted plants. And I think here's a trend. I'm gonna tell you this. Not even a trend. Here's something that people need to be doing, and I've talked about it for some time. The Elysianthus is a well-established, popular cut flower, and people are growing it all across the country in fields or greenhouses or whatever, taking it to farmers markets or florists. But the other thing that Lisianthus is capable of being is a really good garden plant. So it could be. So and we talked about some of these plants that we see used as one thing, and then maybe perhaps it can be used as a garden plant or something else as well. So we're going to see that as well. I really think we are. We'll see. I may be wrong, but I think we were going to see a lot more multi-uses for plants. We
Yeah.
talked about, and we didn't see it at Cass, but the whole idea of a patio vegetable is not just because you have a patio, but you can stick it in the garden itself. It's
Hmm.
called foodscaping. And we can do so we can take that tomato, whatever you want to do with it, or pepper, and we can put it in the garden center as a foodscape item, not
Yep.
just a vegetable garden item. And not
I
so
know.
the multi-use thing, I think, well, I think it makes great sense.
Yeah,
And
I agree with you. There has to be some sort of marriage between a vegetable garden and a flower garden. They can live together. And I think some people view it as they have to be separate, but
no, exactly
they
right.
don't have to
Exactly
be.
right. Exactly right.
Was there a plant that you kept thinking about after we left cast? I know I have a couple.
Uh, the answer is no, and I don't mean that there's nothing one plant that really. I'm kind of looking some of my notes here that really stuck in my head. Um, One of the very first plants we saw, and you may remember this, was at Taki, and it was this Rudbeckia Claire Orange. I know
Hmm.
I don't remember. The plant was well grown, it was well displayed, it was a Rudbeckia, an annual, yellow-eyed Susan or black-eyed Susan, daisy. But, it showed out for me, and I still remember that. Now, again, nothing pastel about that color, but
Right.
it certainly, was one of the better ones. And, you mentioned that, um Lysianthus, of course, we saw a bunch of them, we saw one called Rosita, and that was pretty cool. Uh, so, yeah, and they're all on our. I think we put those on our, day-to-day, postings, and of course, they're also gonna see more of that stuff in our videos.
Of course, yeah, and the Rudbeckia Claire Orange, that was really cool because that is the first pollen-free Rudbeckia on the market, and I know Pan American Seed has the Always Sunny Gold sunflower, and I
Uh-huh.
I was curious about that because immediately when I heard pollen-free, I just went concerned because for all the pollinators,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
find out that they still benefit from the nectar had me on board, so it was good to get that information
Uh,
and
it is funny when you talk like that because one group of people, it's nothing but native plants or nothing but pollinators or nothing other. But the fact is that, the whole idea of a flower is to pollinate. And even though those pollen free are not making seed, they certainly are
Mhm.
attracting pollinators. So that's never going to go away.
Just thinking that stop to at American Talkie, the PGR treated delphinium, that's something not that this is something that's gonna be on the market or that you should do, but I wanted that thing. It was so round and
It
short.
was
It just
so ugly. Come on. It was those growers. It was a PGR that's, or excuse me, a delphinium that's literally somebody sat on. Okay, I mean, I, mean, I really, it was. Oh God, it was. But you're right. It was certainly noticeable,
it
and then
definitely was.
it was a great, just a great visual of what PGRs do. And, yeah, and we had a lot of that, not a lot, but there are a number of growers that showed us, what this is what it looks like with a PGR, that it looks like without. We also saw some certainly great research in, disease, breeding or
Yeah.
breeding to reduce disease of this or that. And we had a great thing, I think at Duman on, their program for disease tolerance of plants. So yeah, there was a lot of that as well. That's never going to go away. And I think people are really, so how many more I don't know how many more petunias can we have, or even hellebores. How many more hellebores now can we have? And
Right.
it's been the best breeding forever. The hellebore is fabulous, but maybe now we need to, you know, do something about. Uh, well, why are the deer eating my hydrangeas? Maybe we need to start breeding hydrangeas that don't deer don't like, and or finding something that we can do anyway. But
I get it. I mean,
there's
I'm
lots of
looking for
stuff.
more introductions for a Stilby, so
Oh yeah, well, as I say, there's a ton of fabulous stuff, and people like me, and certainly you, and anybody who kind of looks at this through a bit of an eye of discovery or the eye of experiment, always can find something that let's do this instead. But looking back, even 5 years, my goodness,
Mhm.
we have jumped major hurdles.
Absolutely. I'd say for me, the Honey Sticks Gold from Doom and Orange, the Agastache, really stuck out to me. That yellow flower. I've been thinking about that one honestly almost every day because I want it so bad.
You gotta get it.
And right, and Terra Nova Nurseries, their pretty tasty ruby strawberry with the red flowers. I thought that was so beautiful, and I'm looking forward to that one coming to market too. And I know you and I were fighting over the Summer Bees Dahlia series, the salmon bicolor. Who's going to write about this one? And
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the
I
dahlias
am.
there. You again another.
Oh yeah.
I go. I've been around for a little bit, but I look at some of these plants that we hardly even knew. It's 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now, I mean, we knew dahlias forever, but the
Mm-hmm.
dahlias looking at now in the last 2 or 3 years are just spectacular,
Oh
and
yeah, I know.
they're not, I mean, their flowers are just beautiful, but also the plant is something we can handle. You put that on the patio and you can use it. You know, you
Yeah.
you put the 4 foot tall, and I just planted some dahlias in my garden today. They're going to be 3 feet tall. I know they are, but I want them that way. But certainly I
Yeah.
can't do that on the deck. So these new ones that are coming out, I think, are just, yeah. But people, I get people, whoever you are, whoever is handling the plants. There are so many people that want to see these things, and we can't sort of say, well, that's too small for decorative dahlias. Well, come on, get with the program. The program is the rest of us. So I hope we'll see these things. What you're saying, Marissa, is like you can't wait to go to the garden center and get that strawberry or that agastache or whatever. Let's hope that your garden centers carry them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a great time. It's hard to not walk around and think, "Oh, I want this plant, I want this plant," and, how can I beautify my space even more? And but one thing I noticed was there wasn't a lot of new series introductions, but a lot of, new color additions or improved genetics in series. Did you notice that too?
And that's been the trend for many years now. I say many years, for the last 3, 4 years. In that it's just hard to come up with, pow, they're really, wow, the thing that just knocks your eyes out. That's different. I mean, I saw some Calibracoa that just knocked my eyes out, but it's one more Calibracoa. So
Right.
we saw some petunias. Said, wow, look at that thing. But again, it's one more petunia, and whether that ever hits the marketplace is because there's so much competition for these particular groups of plants. I think dahlias have a real chance of getting through. The hellebores have made a huge dent in something that's new, and we've seen those things. And I think cut flowers are not, I say, not too difficult. There's still a ton of, well, there are still there's a ton of Eustomer or all these other kind of plants out there, but sunflowers are out there, but we can get those in. I think you're right, though. It's filling in colors and filling in parts of the series for the grower. So the grower
Mhm.
now has a pink where he may couldn't have got a good pink in that series, so he's looking at a different series. Well, let's buy my series, please. I now have a pink, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely what we should be seeing.
Did you have a favorite stop at Cast this year?
Well, without alienating anybody else, what I don't say, I think it's always fun to go. You see the ball group because
Yeah.
there's so many different arms, whether it's Pan American or Flora Plant or whatever it is. There's just a ton of different things going on, from vegetables to shrubs to whatever. So it's always a great stop. But I think everybody, and I think you'd agree, everybody treats us very, very well, not because we're writers. In fact, we're not even buying anything, so we're probably down the bottom of the heap. But the fact
Right.
but the fact is they wanna show us stuff. And I think it's whether it was you and me or whether it was your grandmother, they just want to show us the stuff. And the really cool thing, Marissa, and I think you noticed this, these are the people who are working at these breeding places showing us all this stuff. Uh, they're really excited. They're
They
ex
are.
they're excited about the new material they can show off. They're excited about the future, and I think that for internally, and I say, for internally meaning the industry, oh, we got lots of issues. Of course we do, and, there's people that are like the economy being what it is, and it's just getting, you can't afford to go around the corner in your car anymore because of the gas. But the fact is,
Yep.
we're excited. And if we are excited, we get others excited. And it's just a given. The more
Yep.
excited you are about your plants, the more people are going to listen and say, hey, maybe this is so cool, let's do it. So I
Yeah.
think we're doing just fine, thank you. Blemishes, warts, and all, we are doing just fine. And so the cast is just, and I hope we can continue doing cast as long as we can continue doing it. It's cost these guys a lot of money to do this. And I think it's just one of those things that it makes a little bit of who we are. So it's kind of cool.
Absolutely. And for my first experience, something I really enjoyed was all the different themes that we saw. But I would say view-wise, probably my favorite stop was Doom and Orange with at the winery, and
Oh,
it was just
you stop
so
right there.
fun.
Yeah, for those who haven't been there, it sounds like we just have a party every night. Well, we don't. We're so exhausted. We just fall into bed every night. But the thing is, we do have some lovely stops. At Duman, it's on a winery, and it's quite lovely, quite truthfully. And we're quite happy to take a few minutes out and have a glass of wine and lunch. And certainly, many of these stops are just fun. We were at the Santa Barbara Polo Club, right?
Yep.
And we walked on the hallowed grass of the Santa Barbara Polo Club. But the people that were there were a bunch of them, and it was good fun. So yeah, and yeah, it's just something you if you can do, do. If you can't, we understand that's why we're here for you. But if you can do, try and take a trip.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun. Every stop had something to offer. And the last day, I can't remember where we were for the last day, but the Firefly Petunia, the dark room, it was like very similar to the Cultivate experience, but now with the updated pink flower and hopefully new brightness. I just thought that was so fun. We're all waiting for our eyes to adjust, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
mine went first, but it was really
Oh, I
fun.
was the
And
last one. I don't know if I ever saw it, quite truthfully. But I mean,
yeah.
I have old eyes apparently. That was a green fuse, and
Oh, yep.
yep, that was a green fuse, and so we talked about this last year. In fact, we gave that the creativity award, or I think that's what we call it. But anyway, something like that, and or innovation award we gave it, and that firefly petunia that glows in the dark and all. Well, it's an experience. I used to be I didn't was never a critic. I just didn't believe a word of it. And I'm coming around, but it turns out that Marissa, your eyes are a whole lot better than mine. So it took me a little longer to see it, but it really is really cool. And as you say, the new flowers, a much improved plant, regardless of all the glowiness and all the much improved plant. Because when you think about that firefly and what it does, glowing in the dark, well, you're going to look at that for 30 seconds. You have a plant's going to be out there all day. So it has to be a different looking plant, which they've done. And you're right. I think they're certainly working on making that fluorescence a whole lot brighter over time. But they got a ways to go. But it's kind of fun to see that stuff.
Yeah, it is. New innovations in the industry. I mean, it's always fun. You never know where they're going to go, and you hope for the best. And something like a glow in the dark plant is really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything that disappointed you or surprised you this year?
No, nothing. No, no. But having said that, I didn't have any great expectations. Just I'm certainly I'm as excited as everybody else about every time I go there, but I've also been there a bit, so I wasn't having expected I'm going to see this greatest thing. Um, so nothing disappointed me. As I say, we're now doing a lot of fillers. It's more difficult, and even as we get into the car at the end of the day, saying, okay, what are we going to talk about? And you've been to some fabulous things. You've seen spectacular things everywhere, but what are my top 4 or 5? Well, it's a wee bit difficult. And so I wasn't disappointed, but I think it's harder to do that. Uh, then it's just because it's harder for them, harder for breeders to come up with this great new fabulous thing. Yet next year, we'll look forward to something new again. That's just what it is. And
Yeah,
so there, yeah,
agreed.
yeah, I'm not sure. Usually, if there's some spectacular plant, we go north to south or south to north, and you meet people, and you have been here, and there's a buzz about this incredible thing. I didn't get the buzz this year, so that was the only disappointment that I didn't get the buzz. But
Yeah, maybe
there
it's
were
just
great plants.
social media for me, but I mean, I follow the breeders and some growers on there too, and just seeing them sharing what they were getting in terms of feedback from people about what was really hitting, a lot of that aligned with the things that you and I were writing about and that we liked. So, the industry kind of has that agreement almost like we also see the same things, but maybe view them differently. And I just thought the strongest introductions were the ones that had an immediate story. They were easy to merchandise, the something you would see at retail and go yes to immediately. Going back to like that pretty tasty strawberry, any compact woody plants, mini edibles, cut flowers, all the stuff that we're talking about. So,
So did
I,
did did your social media search come up with any one
yes.
plant or 2 plants? Or were
What
they
was that?
the same? Did your social media people come up with any buzz? "Oh, everybody gotta see that plant, gotta see more of it."
Well,
Uh,
I shared a lot of stories to my own plant account, and a lot of people and really, really liked, like I said, the Agastashi honey,
yeah,
golden honey sticks. I don't know if I put that in the right order. But then also too the strawberry as well. And I know they were talking about having two more color introductions for the strawberry flower in the next coming year. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
yeah, that's always fun. When people can actually
Yeah.
smell, eat, taste or something, it makes it even more fun.
Exactly. When
Glad it's
planting with a
possible.
purpose is trending, I mean, even for the younger generations now, we want something it's going to provide multiple uses. And I mean, I always go back to lavender because it's one of my favorite plants, but I saw so much French and Spanish lavender this year, and it had me wondering how that compares in sales to an English lavender where you can use it more medicinally or in the kitchen and stuff where so I had a lot of thoughts as we were moving through, but
Well, I
it
think what
was a good experience.
and again, to sort of summing up as far as what we saw, the trends, we see trends for sure. Um, I didn't see the trends in our face anymore, like native plants. We know it's a trend, but it was in your face.
Yeah.
The pollinator thing, it wasn't there. I mean, it was not there, but it
That's
just.
a very good point.
But the trends like to multi-use, I'm talking about whether it's a patio plant, an indoor, whatever. I think that trend is showing up. I think the cut flower trend for those companies that do cut flowers, it's really a big deal. I and the trend that came about 5 years ago with all the herbs, okay, whether it be lavender or any of these kind of mints or agastache as an herb, that's really quite. It's really quite a vibrant trend right now. And you say young people, well, it is young people for sure, but it's everybody. Again, if you can
Right.
taste it, smell it, touch it, it just makes it even that much more.
Well,
Yeah.
they're so fun too. I can't we were at Pan American Seed and they had that tiny little basil. I mean, the literally the leaves were the size of my pinky nail. And
Mhm.
Syngenta with the mini strawberry. I thought that was neat. And I have never seen a tomato in a hanging basket before. So I
Oh,
was
yeah.
feeling very inspired, especially as someone who is an avid vegetable gardener, and that's kind of my thing. It was really cool to see that. And I know Pan American Seed, we talked about Spotlight, their new sweet pepper that's coming out too. I can't wait to get my hands on
That
that.
was a cool, that pepper.
Yeah.
That was really kind of fun because it was really just so
Mhm.
it looked. I mean, it eventually would be tasty, but it looked good.
Well, it was fun too because I mean it's disease resistant, and that's such a huge problem late in the season. And I thought there were a lot of introductions from a commercial standpoint or growing standpoint that were going to solve problems. Darwin Perennials had the Dayscape Daylily series, and I personally don't plant daylilies. I think that's just my own opinion, but I was really interested in their berries and cream. That one caught my attention.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff to
So
see.
anyway, we were very fortunate. We were able to see a bunch of stuff and hopefully share it with everybody. And yeah, not things you're gonna quickly forget. That was really cool.
Well, what do you think growers and retailers should be paying attention to coming out of cast this year?
what the breeder should be paying attention to is, of course, they are under guidelines, so to speak, to fill in this color and to make that thing more compact and to do one more, you know, those special I don't know, Scavola that is white with blue. They're under those kind of things. That's
Yep.
a Scavola breeder is going to be breeding Scavola, okay? And so you can't just say, well, let's just find some new plant. Let's just it takes years and years and years and a ton of money to do that. So they're going to be finding, I think, the short compact thing, as a breeder, they're going to as the company, which is really a marketing company, if you think about it, the marketing should be, what are we going to do with this plant? What are we going to do with the lavender? There's a zillion lavenders out there, but half the population has given up on them. And once you give up on one, you say, "Well, I'm not going to do any more." Well, now there's these
Yep.
lavenders that you mentioned, daylilies that are going to be disease resistant, lavenders that are going to take a bit more moisture and certainly take heat. That's not a problem. So that's the kind of thing that if you can find the breeder and the markers, let's do a lavender, which they're doing. That is handsome, fragrant, all that, whether it's English or Spanish or whatever. But, isn't so difficult to grow. And then you try, because that just happened, for instance, that we didn't see any of this at Cast, but one of the plants, the mainstays of a landscape plant is something called the boxwood, but it gets boxwood blight. And so people were just killing boxwoods. And so nobody would buy any. And now we have the breeding that has essentially, it's not gone, but boxwood blight is less of a problem. So now it's going to
Mhm.
come up. But it makes a big difference if you, so that whole, you have to have a story. And the marketing people have to have a story. So this lavender is what we saw, what was that lavender? Sweet scent mini, the little mini,
Mhm.
you know,
Mini blue.
what's the deal with that? Well, it's lavender, it's free, it's pretty, it smells good, and we can grow it in a container, and we can get this, extra stuff out of it, whether I'll say medicinal, but something you can do. So I think that's the breeder himself is going to, because essentially people breeders work on certain crops. Okay,
Right.
so work on certain crops, they're going to make that crop a little bit bigger. But there is some big poobah that's running around there saying, "Oh, okay, I got cross A and B, and I'm gonna get C. It is the greatest thing ever." And believe me, they got stuff in the back greenhouse. They really do, and it's
Mhm.
not ready to be introduced yet. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I a similar takeaway. I think small space gardening is here to stay, and I saw a lot of breeders refining proven genetics, stuff that's already on the market and doing well. And cut flowers and edibles still have momentum. I don't think they're going anywhere. And grower friendly traits are honestly more important than ever. So
Yep.
that's kind of my takeaway from.
Well, again, it's all about, let's face it, this industry has to cater as well we should to the grower, meaning that the seed has to germinate and the cutting has to root and all that stuff has to be done in 20 days instead of 30 days. All that, it's all grower. Let's so it costs money.
Right.
But having said that, it's kind of like anything else. Um, it's got to go somewhere. It's got to go to the final consumer, whether that's me or you, or whether that's a landscaper that's putting in the hotel landscape or whatever. And so, you know, we have to have something that can prove itself, and that
Exactly.
you
Is
know
when you're growing
makes
plants for
money.
a long time, it's hard to just say, "Oh, this new variety came out. I'm just going to grab that and throw it on my bench." It has to really prove itself because if you're growing something and it works for you, why would you change that?
Well, exactly, but we always need new, and I don't know how much longer you want to do this, but the fact is that I mentioned at the very beginning about multi-use of plants and how I wish we could, take some of these plants and make them garden plants or landscape plants. And I mentioned that perhaps we can do that with Lisianthus, but the one we really can do that with is Alstroemeria. And Alstroemeria has been, again, a very well-established cut flower. In fact, if you go to any grocery store, go to the cut flower section, you'll see Alstroemerias, and they're very, very popular because they have terrific vase life and all that stuff, and they look nice. But we also saw a company that was doing Alstroemeria in pots, and so what we need to do, and I say, what if I was there? If I would say, let's breed this darn Alstroemeria so it gets a bit more heat, a bit more weather tolerance, meaning a little bit more cold hardy, a little bit more heat hardy, and something that can do short compact in the garden. And if you could breed zone 5 in it or zone 6 even, If you could breed his own 6 Alstroemeria, boy, the market is just dominant. But yeah,
Absolutely.
but it's good. That's easy for me to say. But that's the kind of thing that when where you and I are looking at things, like, boy, I wish I could do that, or wish I had that. That me, there's a few plants like that. I think that there's a bit of an open space. A lot of perennials have open spaces, but it's really tough for petunias and calvaricolas and scaevolas and lobelias and all that. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we could talk about this all day probably, but just as a final thought, it really felt like to me the strongest introductions this year were the ones that were connected to consumer lifestyle trends, but also provided the real grower value. So that more than anything, that was my biggest takeaway from Cast
Well,
this year.
and we shall see, because you don't forget, and I maybe I'll do this in another column with you, Marissa. Don't don't
We'll
forget
talk after.
don't forget that there's all these people at the poker table, and who has a
There
strong.
are.
So but that's good. I think, well, back to our original premise. What do we like about Cast? Everything. What do we dislike? Very little. What do we wish we'll be seeing in the future? More. Just keep it going. Just the enthusiasm, and of course meeting people. And you met a ton of new people, and that's just a fun thing. So that's.
Yeah. Agreed. It was nice to finally meet people in person that I've been emailing for so long. So that was definitely nice, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, anyway, it was great hanging out with you there, because you had to put up with me, and it was great fun to everywhere I went, people were saying, "Well, what about," so
I know
we
you're so popular, but I had a great experience with you and I learned a lot and yeah, I mean our whole group was awesome. So I'm looking forward to next year.
okay. Well, we did okay. I hope people get back to you, and if there's some questions they have, we will do our best to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alan.
All right, take care, Melissa. All the best.
Thank you for joining us. You can learn more about this and other topics at greenhousegrower.com, and you can also follow Greenhouse Grower on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and please leave us a rating or review, as it helps other listeners find the show. The Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast is produced by the team at Meister Media Worldwide. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower.